Namaskar, this is Dr. Rinita Mazumdar. I'm continuing with my lectures on feminist theory. You have to be patient till we reach how I'm going to connect feminist theory with genocide and specifically with Hindu genocide. And these are all related, but it will take a while because I have to finish feminist theory. So I already talked about Simone de Beauvoir. Now I'm going to go back and remind you of Freud's theory. So far what we have done is we have talked about structures, base, superstructure, these big things. We talked about patriarchy as the superstructure according to Heidi Hartman. Now we are going to go to micro identities. What constitutes identities? And the person that I'm going to focus on is Sigmund Freud. Freud initially was trained as a physician in the Vienna School of Medicine. He wanted to be a hypnotist. Hypnosis was a big thing then in Europe, where people would be put into trance and then some of the diseases that was not accounted for physically were treated. Cherchon was a big person, huge name in hypnosis in Paris. So he went to Paris to learn hypnosis. He was not a good hypnotist. He didn't like it. He didn't do a good job. So he came back to Vienna and he started his medical practice. A lot of Jewish middle-class women used to visit him. And slowly through his clinical experience, he learned about the different positions of the psyche. And he gave us a profound theory of gender identity development. In fact, for Freud, all identities are basically gender identities. So let's start. I'm going to do this very simply. First, I'm going to talk about male gender development identity and then female in the next video. So Freud was working under Enlightenment. And we know that people like Galileo and Newton, they found matter and energy and so forth. Freud tried to find something similar to energy in human body through which development happens. Remember, we talked about the modes of production and the relations of production. There is a force that moves societies from tribal to feudal to agricultural. Similarly, Freud tried to find a life force, and he did. He called it libido or the pleasure principle. It's the life force, the pleasure-giving energy. What's interesting is Freud said it is housed at different body parts during the different stages of development. Firstly, the entire pleasure or life force is around the mouth, and he called it the oral stage. And I'm going to show an illustration in my next lecture. But let's listen to this now. The entire energy of the newborn, the baby, is centered around the mouth. That's the life force, the libido, from which he gets pleasure, sucking. So he sucks. Even if he is not given nutrition, milk, etc., he sucks. And he gets pleasure out of it. So ultimately it's about pleasure, is the life force, the movement of life. Then as the child grows up, it shifts to the anal region. From the oral to the anal region. There he gets pleasure by passing the feces. Here he's taking something, there he's passing out something. At this point, according to Freud, there is no gender differentiation. Everyone is all gender, bisexual, polysexual, polymorphous. They have desire towards everyone. In the next stage, the libido, the pleasure principle, the center of pleasure passes to the genital. This is where, according to Freud, something happens that results in gender differentiation, the two genders and then many other genders. What happens, he says, when the libido passes from the anal to the genital stage, children enter what he calls the castration complex. What is the castration complex? For the little boy, the castration complex is, unless I give up masturbation and desiring my phallic mother, my organ that gives me most pleasure will be cut off. What is this phallic mother? Now, there is a controversy in Freud, whether for Freud, from the very beginning, there is an idea of the newborn about the other. I desire the other. Who do I desire? Is desire objectless? And for some interpretations of Freud, there is no concept of the other. I just desire. Now, the one interpretation according to which I always desire the other, it's the desire through the phallic mother. What is the phallic mother? The phallic mother is the mother, the all-powerful mother, one who can give milk, one who can breastfeed, and one also who has the phallus. This is often depicted in ancient religions with powerful female goddesses like Durga and Kali and Parvati and so forth. So this idea of the phallic mother, it's an entirely fantasy of the newborn. So in the genital stage, when the male child enters the castration complex, two things happen. He knows that if he does not stop masturbating, getting pleasure by rubbing the phallus, it will be cut off. His organ of pleasure will be cut off. Who will cut it off? It's dad's punishment. Ultimately, this dad is the divine. And if he does not give up his desire for this fantasy phallic mother, it will also be cut off. So what he does is he represses that initial desire, the absolute pleasure, the infinite pleasure, the unlimited pleasure. And he makes a boundary, he consolidates his self, and he possesses his phallus. If I have to possess the phallus, if I have to become masculine male with a phallus, then I have to repress my infinite desire, unlimited desire, and my desire to the phallic mother. But like energy, desire doesn't go away, it just transforms. So it didn't go away, that original desire, it got somewhere else. And here is the birth of the unconscious. So in the conscious mind, he becomes a male, the possessor of the phallus. But in his unconscious is actually the desire for the phallic mother. So this is very interesting. For Freud, at the same time, the conscious desire is for the phallic mother, for the phallus, for the male identity, consolidated male identity. The unconscious desire, which is repressed, which is very important. The repressed desire is actually the phallic mother, the infinite pleasure, and so forth. This is the male identity development. For the female, it's more complex. In the genital stage, again in the oral and the anal stage, there is no gender differentiation. In the genital stage, she also undergoes a castration complex. Now in the 1920s, there was a huge debate. How can a female child undergo castration complex since she does not have a phallus? What is she afraid of? If I have 100 rupees in my bank, I'll be scared of losing it. If I don't, I'm not scared of losing it. So she cannot be scared of something of which she is not aware, which she doesn't possess. So what happens is she realizes she's already castrated. And in her mind comes the idea that I'm so bad that I had it, but father castrated it because of my own sins. This is actually what happens with women. It's all her own fault. So she goes to father to get the phallus. Another castration, a symbolic castration, also happens. She realizes that the phallic mother is not the mother. She also desires the phallic mother, like the little boy, like her brother. But it's not the phallic mother. She doesn't possess the phallus. Her body is like me, castrated. So see, for Freud, there are two identities, male and castrated male. There is no such thing as a separate feminine identity. And she runs to father, takes his beatings, his rape, his abuse to get the phallus in her body. She doesn't. She goes to mother. She doesn't have it. Where is she going to give it from? So she settles for her biological destiny, which is what? That I don't have the phallus, but I can substitute that pleasure that I will never have by getting a baby from father or father substitute. So the baby is the woman's phallus. But her original desire, and this is very important for feminist theory, but her original desire is the desire for the phallus, which goes into the unconscious. So that as her consciousness is born, her unconscious is also born like the male. In her unconscious is her original desire, which is what? The desire for the phallus. So the desire for the phallus is a feminine desire par excellence, because we only desire what we do not have. What we have, we do not desire. Now, if she cannot settle for her biological destiny according to Freud, then there are two options. She becomes frigid, since I cannot have as much pleasure as those who possess the phallus like my brother, I won't have any pleasure at all. Or she becomes homosexual. She lives in a fantasy. She says to herself, father has given me the phallus, so I already have the phallus. So she won't perform sex with another man, she'll perform it with another woman, homosexual. So these two are deviant identities for women. Otherwise, who is a normal feminine for Freud? She represses her original desire for the phallus and substitute it with a desire for baby from father, or father substitute. But her original desire, the desire for the phallus, goes into her unconscious. And in her conscious mind, she knows mother doesn't have the phallus, and so she starts hating mother and everyone like her body. This is also for Freud, interpreting Freud, the foundation of patriarchy, women hating women, women hating all those who have bodies like her, which in Freud it's a defective body, a body without a phallus, a body that does not have the organ of pleasure. So this is more or less gender identity. I'm going to go to nuances on it in my next lecture. Thank you.